You thought becoming a Shaolin monk would be epic. You imagined a peaceful temple nestled in the mountains. Serene mornings, meditative walks, occasional slow-motion kicks that unlocked your inner dragon. Instead, it's 5 a.m. You're barefoot on a frozen stone floor, already sore, and someone is ringing a massive metal bell like they lost a bet with subtlety. There's no mattress, no snooze button, just a wooden plank for sleeping and a thin blanket that stopped insulating anything around the Tang dynasty. You roll out of bed, splash your face with water cold enough to liquefy your remaining brain cells, and stumble into the courtyard. Still dark, still silent, still awful. No coffee, no food, no warm-up, just qigong, slow, controlled breathing mixed with painful stances that make your thighs cry for mercy before you've even had breakfast. It's supposed to cultivate inner stillness. Mostly it just cultivates leg tremors and resentment. This is how every day begins, because you're a Shaolin monk, and it sucks. After your charming little sunrise seizure, it's time for kung fu drills, running laps, knuckle push-ups, endless repetitions of forms you've already done 100 times this week. You mess up once, you start over. You do horse stance until your thighs give up and your dignity follows. There's no encouragement, no music, no water until someone nods. Just movement and obedience and the constant suspicion that your kneecaps are plotting against you. Eventually the bell rings again, not to reward you, just to announce that it's time for food that makes you wish it wasn't. You eat in silence. White rice, maybe cabbage, possibly tofu, if someone up there likes you today. No seasoning, no variety, no flavor. You chew quickly because dragging it out just prolongs the sadness. Then you rinse your bowl and return to the real reason you're here. Unpaid labor. You sweep courtyards that somehow always need sweeping. You mop floors. You haul water in buckets up slick stone stairs. You chop wood. You wash robes by hand. You rake decorative gravel that immediately blows back into place. The whole monastery runs on manual labor, and that means you. Then comes afternoon training, which is just the morning routine but meaner. Weapons drills now, swinging staffs and spears until your shoulders seize. You hold low stances until your joints start vibrating. You practice sword routines that require perfect precision, even though you're running on 6 hours of sleep and 1 cabbage leaf. Then comes conditioning, which is a nice word for hurting yourself with purpose. You punch trees. You do fingertip push-ups on gravel. You bounce your head off a wall because iron skull training is an actual thing here. There are no mats, just stone and you. You train your fingers by slapping bundles of bamboo. You train your neck by resisting resistance bands while someone literally pulls your head backward. There's a drill where you carry buckets of water with your arms stretched straight out like a human scarecrow. Another where you squat on a wooden beam while balancing bricks on your thighs. You practice the plum blossom poles by hopping across narrow stumps, 1 foot at a time, without falling. Because nothing strengthens spiritual insight like pretending to be a terrified squirrel. And if you think this all sounds unnecessary, congratulations, you're right. But tradition says this builds resilience, so you do it anyway, until your joints click like they're trying to communicate in Morse code. All this, and it's not even dinner time. In theory, you're part of something ancient. The Shaolin Temple was founded in 495 CE, and according to legend, Bodhidharma, an Indian monk, introduced a set of physical exercises to complement the monk's spiritual training. That story's probably myth, but it stuck. By the 600s, Shaolin monks were being recruited into actual battles. In 621, they helped secure the Tang dynasty's rise to power. They were warrior monks, part spiritual guardian, part martial militia. That era is long gone. Now the only battles you fight are with your laundry bucket and your own lower back. The structure is still strict. The routines are still punishing. But you're not training to defend anything. You're training because that's what monks have always done, and that legacy is now mostly for show. Modern Shaolin isn't a military order. It's a tourist attraction, a cultural export, a performance brand. There are Shaolin schools all over the world, Some are affiliated, many are not. The temple itself is a blend of sacred space and PR opportunity. Some monks still live in seclusion and train full-time. Others tour the globe breaking bricks on stage and performing synchronized staff routines at trade shows. You might get selected for a performance tour. If you're flexible, photogenic, and not actively limping, you could end up in a Las Vegas expo hall doing backflips for a corporate crowd. You'll smile, you'll bow, you'll crack a board over your skull. You won't get paid. The ancient monks fought bandits and guarded caravans. You perform at conferences between dumpling tastings and PowerPoint slides. Progress? The early monks didn't live like this because it looked good on brochures. They trained to protect sacred texts, defend against raiders, and uphold the law in times when law enforcement barely existed. What they gave up, they did for survival and for purpose. Now the world is different. You're not fighting invaders. You're not guarding anything. You're just following the steps like a live-action artifact. It's not that the training got easier, it's that the reason got blurrier. You own almost nothing. A robe or two, a bowl, a cup, maybe a prayer book. There are no phones, no earbuds, no private space, no personal life. You gave up your name, you gave up your past, you gave up snacks. There's no dating, no touching. You live with dozens of other people but feel like a monk-shaped shadow. You are expected to be humble, selfless, and grateful. You haven't had a real conversation in weeks. You say the same prayers at the same times with the same people, but no one's asking how you're doing. Not because they don't care, just because they're too busy being exhausted too. There are no jokes, no banter, no moments of spontaneous joy, just routine. When you laugh in your head, it feels dangerous, like you're misusing energy. And it turns out isolation doesn't automatically unlock wisdom. Sometimes it just makes you feel cold, literally and emotionally. But you're tired. Not in a poetic, meditative way, just physically, emotionally, and probably spiritually exhausted. Your knees hurt, your hands are cracked, your spine is staging a slow-motion rebellion. You're always sore, always hungry, always behind on some chore. And yes, you wonder, could you leave? Technically, yes. You're not a prisoner. You can walk away. But leaving means unmaking your entire identity. It means giving up on something you convinced yourself had meaning. It means starting over with nothing, no resume, and no idea how to explain the last 5 years without sounding like you were raised in a dojo-themed simulation. There's no real exit plan, only the daily rhythm of suffering and submission, dressed up in ceremonial robes and centuries of tradition. You wanted purpose. You got tofu and chronic tendinitis. You wanted peace. You got chanting, dishes, and the slow decay of your lumbar region. You wanted to become a monk. And now you are one. It sounded better on paper.